Hi, I think we're running. See, I took my glasses off in order to get rid of this hideous glare from these windows. Dan is on part two of his two-leg chore journey, and I want to bang this out just to make sure we have the info recorded. Nothing else, recording for continuity. Hi, one new person who joined the followers. It's great to have 33 now. That's a lucky number. Maybe we'll keep going. Maybe we'll get to 50 someday. I don't know. Not in a rush. Anyway, here are the presentations and other things that I enjoyed on the second or third days of ELUNA before I had an interesting flight home. Well, not that interesting. It was nice and boring, actually. Anyway, day two, I moderated this overwhelming information presentation on linked data and AI by, see, this is the fun part. You're gonna watch me zoom in because I'm getting old. Laura Ackerman from Emory, who I've seen a lot on the listserv, and Amanda Zhu from the National Agricultural Library, who I've not seen a lot of, but I'm sure she's out there. And it started off easy, like the first third was okay and I could follow along, and then it suddenly just like became this drench of information. So I've saved the presentation and I keep hoping to get back to it, but I also have way too many other AI things to read. And I got home from ELUNA and I told people, like, I'm overwhelmed by AI. And one of my coworkers was like, yeah, when I was at LowX, they were all like, this is my one AI session. So you're not the only one, which is good. And then after that one, I went to moderate this presentation from someone at EMU that I should know more about, Jackie Roche, who, small world, ended up, I think she's like 10 years older than me, but she grew up on a street in the subdivision that was just up the street from where I lived because I was on the main road. Small world. Anyway, she's over at Eastern, and this presentation was very detailed and very thoughtful, and about midway through my brain was like, you know what? I really don't want to figure out circulation. And maybe I don't want to be a systems person. I don't know. It would be good to figure this out and make it better, but it's complicated. And I was hoping for more on Iliad because that's the big form that like our students have a hard time using. But it was mostly on InReach. Good stuff, but yeah, I don't want to tinker with that. I'm very much if it ain't broken on fire, I'm just not in the mood to tinker with it anymore. Maybe it's just getting further into my 40s. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully you can hear this over the exciting HVAC system here. All right. And I managed to bump into my former coworker, Matt, at that presentation, and he was all like, why weren't you at the Great Lakes User Group yesterday? And I had to explain, like, I left the one meeting early because I was so peeved that they wouldn't tell me what their MCU orchestration layer was made of. And I ended up walking past the catering services that day, and they were like, no, I told them we weren't supposed to eat till 1. They're like, no, your lunch is like 12:30 to 1:30. And I was like, oh, well, it's 12:30 now. I'll start now. Why not? So yeah, he was like, why weren't you there? And I'm like, told him that. So we managed to have lunch with the three of us, which was pretty cool. And one person who I hope just wanted to eat by herself, because like we crashed one of the conversation tables, but then we didn't want to have the conversation because we're terrible people. But it was nice seeing him, and I gave him like a weird awkward shoulder hug when I left because I had a feeling I wasn't going to see him again at the conference, even though he was like, I'm going to some of your moderation sessions tomorrow, so I'll see you. But I didn't. So yeah, good to see Matt again. I don't think I'll be going to LA, but then again, I didn't think I was going to be going to Georgia. And he had it way worse than me because apparently he decided he wanted to drive a rental car there and back. I don't get it, but more power to you, man. Anyway, and then that was followed up after lunch with a session on highlighting local faculty publications with Primo VE. And fortunately, I did not write that down. See, I was copying from the old agenda on Drifta, and it was a good session though, and I did save it to send to our archivist, which I did, because I'm like, do you want to do this? Because we have the notes, we just don't have like a collection. Right now you have to know what the note is, which is not super helpful, admittedly. Anyway, I went back, hung out by myself, watched TV by myself. Didn't do any of the things I threatened to do that were constructive adult stuff, like catching up every 6 months on my journal, because I don't keep up with it now because I'm terrible. Just don't want it to sound like nothing but adult whining, so it's hard for me to make discipline to put it in there. Okay, my AC shut off, so you should be able to hear me clearly now if you didn't before. Anyway, that day too, we ordered this like large Brazilian pizza, and it was expensive. It's like $50, but I managed to eat on it for like the next day or so, or the next day into the next morning. So it worked out. It was super good. It had this stuff called like catupa on it, which is like the squeezy cheese they have down in Brazil, and it was super delicious. It was shredded chicken, and I'm trying to forget what else. Most of that catupa stuff and mozzarella. And I got this. I was almost going to do a bit on it, but I didn't. This guarana soda they had that said like Antarctica on the side, but I didn't get to that. And yes, I'm squinting my eyes at this because it's just weird for me to look at myself without having glasses on. Anyway, okay, moving right along. Day 3, woke up and was like, hey, you got a bunch of sessions to moderate because you decided to go home on Saturday morning, so you volunteered for all this. Which may not have been the best of ideas. I don't know. Oh my gosh. And I'm slouching too much. But hey, that's what I do. Okay, so the first session I went to was this Primo VE audit from these folks at University of Alabama, Birmingham. And these were both some younger ladies. And one I ended up having to ask because I'm like, I've seen your job posting. I can't remember if it was one of the ones I posted for not having any salary on it, but I'm pretty sure I reviewed it at some point because I know I was looking at it several times. But I think the wage was too short for me to bother going down there. But it turns out she had actually taken like the opposite career path as I had. She actually went into IT and security first and then got into library. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense why you're so young and actually like an IT director in a library because that's unusual. So that was Danielle Hassan, and then we have Miss Beth Hall. All right. So the photo of her in Drifta is very different than what she looks like in person now, or they. She might be a they. But the thing that distracted me the most, like she had this big bandage on her forehead, and she clearly had like some other tattoo work done here, and a nose ring, and I want to say a lip ring too. Anyway, she's one of those pierced up people, which is fine, not judging. But because she had this bandage in the middle of her forehead, that was super distracting to me the entire time. And I wanted to ask her, I'm like, what do you have under there? Did you cut yourself? Is there some sort of like anarchist symbol under there? Or some sort of Wiccan thing that we probably don't want to all see? And if so, why did you slap a bandage on it instead of just buying good body makeup? Or facial makeup? It's on your face. And I didn't know if it could have been fresh ink. I don't know. I ended up getting like way too focused on that during the presentation, and the fact that like she was the worst of the two, Miss Beth, in terms of like remembering to hold the mic anywhere near her face. Like she'd be like doing it out here, she'd hold it down, she'd be like, and I don't get that. Like if you're a younger millennial than I am, like don't you know how to hold a mic? Apparently not. Apparently unidirectional mics are just confusing to millennials and Gen Z too. So I'm like, oh my God. Because everyone laughed at me every time I say it. I'm like, you turn it on and you point it at your face. It's a unidirectional mic, people. You have to point it at your face. You know, you can't talk across it. I mean, you can, but doing this flute method is not great for unidirectional mics, the ones with the ice cream head. You're really supposed to talk into them like these. You point it at your face. So many years in undergrad, like miking scenarios with the lavaliers, which I know everyone just calls it clip mic, but I grew up calling them lavaliers, so that's what I still call them. And then the unidirectionals, where I'm just like, point it at your face, point it at your face. Anyway, that got to me, that and the bandage. But I had a good little presentation and some useful things to think about. And also, it was good to discover that apparently you can get like 2 hours of free consulting service out of our vendor if you need to. And then after that, I went to this Alma Metadata AI versus University of Central Florida's AI for metadata that they built themselves. And that was way cool and a little bit over my head. Because I remember being like, this is neat, this is neat, this is neat. But it was all, that was it. It was all fast subject headings. So I was kind of like, this is neat, this is neat. But I can't really use this because we've only recently like started including fast headings. We've been a OCLC, a Library of Congress and a mesh school for a long time. And recently I've started, you know, weaving in the facet headings. Or, yeah, the fast headings. And yes, it's probably good for electronic dissertations to get something, but on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know if we'd end up doing this, just to be honest. But it was interesting to watch. It was like, oh, neato. And then there was the wonderful Marlene Van Baligui from, I believe, University of Montana, talking about AI analysis of Primo user behavior data. And that was interesting, except I'd already watched, like, what, I don't know, two presentations before that. First thing in the morning, and I don't have the greatest attention span after that. Like, I can learn so much in the morning, and I can do so much in the morning, but there is a limit, especially towards the end of conference. So I'm going to admit, Marlene, my brain wandered a lot during this presentation. That doesn't mean it wasn't good. It just means my mind just kept wandering, and I kept going, okay, so you extract that, and you do that, okay, okay. And there was a lot of, like, categorization, and a lot of, like, it was very well done. I was just kind of like, and also, this is the nice benefit of being a smaller library. It's like, I don't know if we have that much to comb through. I don't know. Anyway, my mind was wandering at that point. I don't know why. Maybe it was because it was too close to lunch. Speaking of lunch, I can't remember, like, what the heck happened. Oh, that's right. I did run into, this was the day I actually ran into the most awesome, and I got her in my phone, Kirsten Thomas, who comes out of Seattle and always signs off on the listserv with, like, it will be okay. And I told my coworker that, and she's like, I have no idea who you're talking about. And I'm like, okay. Apparently I'm the only nerd paying attention to other nerds out there in the universe because I have no social life. Anyway, good to know, right? But yeah, she and I had lunch together, and that was great. It was a little awkward because I've never had lunch with someone that wears a mask around all the time. So was kind of like, do you sit 6 feet apart? And I asked her, I'm like, what is the etiquette for this? And she's like, oh, don't worry. It's like, preventative and not what. Anyway, I was like, okay, because I never know what to do. Like, there was at one point, speaking of which, I walked through a hotel, like I walked through the Hilton. There were 3 people. This was a different conference. This was on the way to our conference hotel. But there were 3 people all in masks, and they were all talking to each other in like a little close little group. And like I had to see one like put their ear up against the other one because you couldn't hear them because the masks were muddled. And I was just kind of like, 3 liberals standing together can't have a conversation because they're all masked. I know that's me, but it was still sort of funny at the time, to me at least. Okay, and then the terrible thing happened that I did not want to have happen, and I'm sorry if I just blocked all the light. Looks like clouds going by. I didn't check drift of the day of. So once again, from when I printed my schedule to the day of, they changed rooms. So I was in the wrong room. I should have known better because someone else was in there, and they're like, I'm supposed to be moderating this session. And the title screen was totally different from what the heck I was supposed to be sitting. But I didn't piece 2 and 2 together. Again, I might have just been exhausted from the overwhelming amount of information, and maybe the food was in me. I don't know. Anyway, I got... No, the food I think was at the very end of the day, so maybe I got my times out of order. But no. The food I ate with her the day before, because Friday was the day we didn't get lunch. It just took off. Anyway, my last session, unfortunately, and I think I hear stuff coming back, so I'm going to sum this up quick, was ruined by myself because I just mentioned they changed the room on me, and I was kind of in a panic. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm supposed to moderate, and this person like has already started and has no idea where I am. And so I went running across the hotel, like, shared space courtyard, whatever. And I asked the vendor who was standing there, because I don't have the schedule on my phone. I'm like, where am I supposed to be in? I told them, what session I'm supposed to be in. And they blessedly helped me. But in my hurry to get over there, I sprint over there and I left my phone on their table. I'm 100% sure. And by the time I discover, because I'm like going to look for my phone to see what time it is, I can't remember where the heck I left it. So I sprint back to the room I was originally in, not there, sprint back, talk to the vendor. Of course, the vendor has a nice changing of the vendor guards. They have no idea what I'm talking about, and they tell me to go check with the event front desk, go check with them. They're all like, well, someone turned it in. They probably would have brought it up to the concierge, and I'm like, okay. And this is like 10 minutes in, which seems like an eternity when you've lost something like your phone. And I get to the concierge desk, and like I try to wait what seems seems like 5 minutes, but probably was closer to 2 minutes. And I'm looking around for anybody that looks at all hotel staffy to ask. And that's when I start having like this little mental meltdown because I'm already like been running across the building going like, why do I have ADHD? Why do I lose things? I suck. I suck. I'm going to kill my dentist. You know, the usual crap. And so, yeah, standing at the concierge for 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. I don't know. It was too much for me. And I went over by the bellhop desk and like I start having a little mini meltdown. Unfortunately, someone's mom took care of me because she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I lost my phone and it has everything in it, and I'm not from here," you know, the usual. And she's like, "Let me figure out what to do." And she ends up asking the bellhop behind the desk, and they're like, "Well, call this number." And she's like, "Go over there and call the number." And I called the number, and the guy asked you know identifying characteristics, and I give them to him, and then he's like, "Yeah, we got it." And I'm like, "Oh, I love you." And he's like, "Just stand there, and we'll bring it back up." And then I wait like another eternity, which might have been 10 minutes because everyone's like constantly like, "Are you waiting for something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for this guy to bring this thing up, and I'm going to lean here on this very cold marble because I'm hot." And I wait and I wait and I wait, and it takes forever. And then I finally spot this uniformed security guard. And I'm like, "Hey, do you have my phone?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "There's a guy I called, and he said he was bringing it up, and it's been a minute." And the security guard goes like, "I'll go get it for you." And then probably like 5 to 10 minutes later, he brings it back up from the deep, dark, secure depths of the hotel basement. So I'm like, "Okay, reunited with my phone. Yep, here's my ID. Yep, sign a little thing for it. Yep, yep, nope, this is me. I can unlock it with my thumb. See, I." So after all that panic and all that shame and I'm like, I'm not showing up at this person's thing super late. So I feel like part of me is tempted to write her and apologize, but I haven't. But I'm tempted to like CC her when I send out like her presentation around because it was on Library of Things and I teach that course. I was kind of curious if she had been in my course at all. And what little I saw of it, the 10 minutes I managed to catch of it was actually pretty good and unique. And I do have the slides, so I'm going to send those around. But yeah, I was super disappointed in myself after that. And then spent the rest of the time like compulsively checking my little tiny purse pocket being like phone, 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 to the point where it was getting a little annoying. And then the next morning, managed to sleep through all that layer. I managed to actually get, oddly enough, maybe it was just because I did Lyft instead of like traditional cabs, but I got a nice African-American guy from Philadelphia, I believe, or Pittsburgh, I forget which. But yeah, he was up there from Pennsylvania, so it could kind of relate to my like weird story about not being able to get service at the segregated bar, which was strange to me. And he had good air conditioning, and we went to the airport. And aside from like having a little bit of panic because so work only lets me buy the super duper economy basic on Delta, which is basically French for "we will give you a seat, but you won't know where it's at until the day of," and sometimes not until the hour of, moment before you board. That was unusual for me because on like the outbound flight, you know, I checked in like the 24 hours before, boom, I had a seat, boom, we were all good. Flight home from Atlanta, though, yeah, I checked in. It's like you're on standby, and then I keep looking at it, like, every so often it'd be like you're on 5, you're on standby 7, you're on standby 9, you're on standby 11. Now, granted, this is out of 27 people, but I'm like, how the heck did I get back that far? How the heck did I get back that far? So I ended up asking somebody at Delta, and they're like, no, it's fine. You'll be fine. You'll have a seat on the plane, because my husband and I are both worried. And I ended up asking when I checked my bags. I've never checked a bag where I've been on standby, and they're like, your bag will go with you. Don't you worry. It'll be fine. And Atlanta is like a huge, crazy airport, too. So that was also fun. I did save a somewhat elderly man from tumbling down the steep escalator by like grabbing his back, which might have helped because maybe it distracted me from how steep the escalator was. But yeah, he wanted to like keep walking up the escalator after he got on it because he knew he was a slow moving dude. And I'm just like, he swayed back and I caught him and I'm like yelling at his younger, possibly daughter, like, stop, a rat, whatever it is in your father's native language. I don't know, but please tell him to not walk on this extremely steep escalator because I can probably catch him maybe, but if I get knocked down, we're all just bowling pins on this thing. It's crazy. But yeah, the Atlanta airport was really nice. So that wasn't a problem other than the whole, am I getting on a plane? Oh, and the last minute, like, gate change where I was like, are you going to tell us where the gate is? Or is this just going to remain a mystery while I sit here and watch people go to South Dakota? But it all worked out. Got in the car, managed to drive home in the super hot, and it's been nothing but either super hot or slightly raining since then, and our grass is up to our knees. My husband is borrowing a zero-turn lawnmower because we bought parts for ours, but then of course now things won't hold air. So anyway, he should be home any second. So thank you if you were curious about ELUNA parts 2 and 3. Hopefully this did not bore you? I don't know. Shooting for continuity is always fun, right?